Okay, Danny. So how's your day going so far?
It's pretty good. Yeah, can't complain. Getting really busy this week. We have the premiere coming up, so excited about that.
Yeah, the premiere's on the 18th, right? For the film.
So the 12th is our Terror Films channel premiere, and then the 19th is the digital VOD premiere.
That's right. That's right. Okay. And then it goes on, is it going to Kings of Horror after that? The
Yeah, I
Kings of
believe
Horror
that's the
side?
26th.
Okay.
26th, I believe, Kings of
Oh,
Horror.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. First of all, can you just kind of describe to me in your own words for listeners what this film is about?
Sure. So this is an anthology film, and it's uh, based around psychopomps, which are soul guides. They've been around in many different cultures throughout history. In Greek mythology, there was Hermes. Ancient Egypt had Anubis. The most popular, I think, that we're all familiar with is the Grim Reaper figure. So takes this idea of having to help transition spirits that are stuck on Earth into the afterlife. And the film follows a grieving widower named Carrie. He had just lost his wife in a tragic car accident, and he's starting to see these visions of her ghost, and she's in this state of distress and confusion. And as he's trying to make sense of that, he starts to be visited in his dreams by a cloaked figure, which is a psychopomp. And the psychopomp shows him these stories and teaches him about the spirit world and soul guiding through these tales.
Nice. So that's a very nice expression of what it is that doesn't really mesh with the synopsis at all. I mean, like, I have obviously read the synopsis multiple times. I read your comments about it, and I feel like this just adds on to that because your answer was even, uh, it added even further to what you had said prior. So it's obvious that this is a labor of love for you. I understand that this was inspired by your dying, now deceased mother.
So it was during the post-production process, the editing of the film, that my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And I felt that this film truly helped me during the grieving process, because before taking on this film, death was so strange to me. I had never lost someone that was close to me. And when I took on the project, I knew that I needed to expose myself to this to become familiar with it. And through my research, I spoke to funeral directors and grieving families, and I started to understand it a lot more. And then when it came to editing the film, I was the primary caregiver from my mother. So in one room, I'm editing a film about a character going through this journey of grief. And in the other room, I'm there with my mother as she's transitioning to the afterlife. And I felt like, in a way, that I was a psychopomp of some kind, because that, it was my job to make her feel comfort and guide her into, this next part of her journey.
Wow. Well, that inspiration had to have really brought another level to the script that you were already, or to the project that you were already in post production on. Did you add anything afterwards, later on, because it's an anthology? Were there any stories that you decided to add in, any of the ones in the film that weren't initially planned on being included?
So there was a lot of segments that we had wrote and that just weren't a good fit. They were either too similar to ones we've already started to work on, or we just didn't have the resources to create them. So we do have a few other stories that just never made it into the film. I don't know. We kind of talked about maybe doing graphic novels, or finding ways to expand on this world.
That's cool. So, and as far as like, if you were to visualize it in another medium, Would you say graphic novels the first thing that comes to mind, or are there other things that you would like to do as well?
Um, I think graphic novels would probably be the best format aside from film.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it seems like it would be it possible. I mean, obviously, graphic novel, it might be a good fit for like anime or like adult cartoons too. Um, they have, there's there's a lot with the ethereal like visuals. I feel like in an animated aspect that could be really cool. And
That's
since
true. That
I
is
s-
true.
I saw your name on well, you did so much on this film, but I also saw that you handled some VFX. Can you tell me about how the process went for like building that and making it look like with all the purple ethereal on the other plane or whatever it was exactly?
Yeah, so this was drawn from how shamans practice psychopomping. They go into this meditative state where they find earthbound spirits and they have conversations with them and help them come to terms with death. And I wanted to have a spirit world in this sense where it's just kind of like a room, this abyss that all that these characters can have a conversation just one on one and be able to communicate with each other without any distractions. And I don't know, there was a lot of things that drew me to the color purple. And like for one, it was my mother's favorite color. And I just find that this color, like it inspires me in that sense of being this unusual choice, and especially in horror, you don't see that color being used typically. And I just really wanted to like use that as a symbol of this power of the psychopomp. So anytime you see that film appearing, that color appearing in the film, it suggests that there's this kind of power that's present on the screen.
Now, when I was looking at the credits after the film, I saw your name as one, you were credited as one of the characters. Were you the person in the graveyard, one of the people in the graveyard or at the graveyard, um, uh, talking about the abduction? I was trying to remember which, or I was trying to figure out which character you played before I saw
Yeah,
your
that
face.
that was me. I had a short cameo, and I played the brother of the psychic. We were abducted at a young age, and that's how she goes on her journey to kind of seek this closure to face off with this man who had, traumatized her, for so much of her life, and she now has this ability to empower to be able to confront him and her fear of this.
So with I'm not going to give any spoilers away, because it's an anthology, so every 10 minutes there's a bit of a spoiler. But were all of the stories your idea, or was there another like part of the writing team that added in any of these to the anthology?
Yeah, so the one story I had a co-writer on was the vampire segment, and we sat together and we came up with the story and the outline of that one, and he penned the screenplay, so he went into detail. He All that dialogue is from him. He's just such a talented dude. His name is J. Anthony Ramos. He's a great friend of mine, so it was just a pleasure to be able to work with him on this project. But yeah, the rest were just me alone in a room, just dreaming.
So with the vampire scene, did you add any of your own flair to it, or did you pretty much take in what he had, pitched for you, the co-writer, I mean, and follow his lead on that?
We had a lot of conversations before he started writing about what the story should be, about what the characters should be. And, a lot of even what he wrote, I kind of adjusted to my tastes. His vampire was a little more friendly and you had some jokes here and there, and I wanted to keep it grounded, like serious, and show how depressed this vampire is, because he just can't die. He has no ending to his story, and he's just hiding out in this abandoned library. But yeah, and then like I directed it, so like all the look, the costume design, all of that is just how I saw uh the film. And I cast the actors. So I mean, there's so much that goes into a film, but the screenplay is truly the heart of it. So much of that is also him. uh and that's the first time I directed something that someone else wrote. It was a different kind of experience, but I loved it. And me and him share such similar sensibilities, so it was easy to kind of interpret what he wrote into how I felt it should fit into this film.
So which of the scenes, not scenes, but which of the stories and the, sorry, I couldn't think of the best word, which of the stories in the anthology do you think was the most complicated to pull off, whether it be budgetary reasons or anything else? Because the scene where they're dancing is a pretty big scene, and I had thought maybe that might be like the highest budget one, but I wasn't sure.
Surprisingly, that was the lowest budget one. But I
Really?
had this dedicated crew, and my DP owns a rental house. So he brought all his equipment. It was really just a huge favor that he did for me. Um, and this dude is this camera team that he brought along with are just so pro at what they do. And they were able to take my vision and just, I was blown away. It was much greater than what I could have ever imagined. And a lot of that is the actor's performance, and just so many elements that just all come together in the right way at the right time to create that magic that you're feeling. It's uh it's it's always a miracle, like when stuff like that happens.
Were you the one in charge of of casting all of the actors for these different stories?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to be pretty hands-on with every aspect of filmmaking. I started off being a one-man band, so I was able to familiarize myself with all the different departments. And I believe that uh, that the director should have a strong hold of this vision and be able to communicate it. Otherwise, it might come out sloppy if there's too much different kind of opinions that are clashing. Um, but I'm always open to suggestion from my crew, and I do get a lot of stuff from them that I will run with because it's better than what I think, what I had imagined. So yeah, during the casting, absolutely, I hold auditions and I get tons of submissions, and it's just filtering, trying to find what best fits the character. But also, I liked actors who bring something unique, on-screen presence that I haven't seen before, and stuff that surprises me that wasn't like what I imagined when I was writing. So that's a lot of cool discovery along the way.
So the this is probably a tough question, but if you were watching this film and not having made it, what kind of question would you have? Like, what do you think your curiosity would have been having seen this film if it were made by somebody else?
I would say said, "Are you like stalking me? How do you know exactly what kind of all the choices you've made are exactly what I would make?" No. Yeah, that's a really tough question because I mean, it's just all like my life experiences and all my interests and love and just the style of things I like are all in there. So it would definitely feel like a reflection of me. I would definitely think that whoever directed it is a supernatural presence and they are like targeting me. I would ask other people, am I the only one who could see this film because it's so me?
You would probably be worried that you're being transitioned and guided to the afterlife by a
Exactly.
psychopath.
Yeah. I would have to
um,
pinch myself.
so I don't want to say any spoilers. So I want to ask you about any other work that you might have coming out in the future that you'd like to promote and plug.
Sure, yeah. I'm in pre-production for my next feature, my second one. It's called What Happened to Dorothy Bell. We just launched a Indiegogo crowdfunder, so we're trying to get the crowd involved with creating the film. And I'm really excited about it. This one is a little more popcorn horror, so it's like meant to just scare you. Like it's fun. It's good scares. Last one was a lot more like deep, real, dramatic. Um, so yeah, this time around I need a little break, even though there's still heavy subject matter happening in this next film. In terms of its tone, it's fun. It's more fun. On like a roller coaster in a way.
You think horror is your main genre that you want to not like thriller, horror thriller is the genre that you feel like you're going to stick to mostly going forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I started. Like, that's where all my love came for a film. I was exposed to horror at such an early age, and I just loved everything about it. Anything spooky, Halloween, like, I'm just crazy about it. And I've always made artwork that, was horror based. And I mean, I could see myself creating drama films, maybe a comedy, but I somehow a ghost would end up in there. Like I have no doubt. Like,
Like
can't control it.
different subgenres of horror where, where you can have like the comedy of like the babysitter, but it's also a slasher film.
Exactly.
But so do you have anything that people have never asked you so far in interviews that you would like to share about the film?
Mm, that's tough. There's just so much about the film, and like it's such a long journey that uh I mean, I don't know. Like, if you could be a little more direct about a certain aspect, I could probably pull something.
Well, maybe like the cast or crew or anybody that you want to give shout outs to, anything, like just any aspect of the film that you feel like people might not get the first time that they see it that you'd like to give a little more context to.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the cast and crew, like, I'm so thankful for. But there are names in it from people who have worked on like really major Hollywood films. The lead character of the vampire segment, her feature film before this one was Steven Spielberg's Bridge of Spies. She played Tom Hanks' daughter in the film, and she was young then. She was young. She's young in our film, but not a lot of people might recognize her right away because she's not a known name, but she's incredibly talented, and they might recognize her and say, where have I seen her from? And then Jeff Ohm was the last person I brought onto the crew. He is a colorist, but he worked on some of the classic films. He did VFX on Titanic. He recently colored The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. He colored Avengers: Age of Ultron. He did VFX on Castaway, the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Like, his resume is so huge, and he moved back to Wisconsin where he was from. He lives on a farm, and he just wanted to help local talent out. So this guy who just comes and works on this small micro budget film from a first time featured director, which is just funny. And he's the coolest, most friendly dude. And now he's a friend of mine. And like things like that just happened along the way. And people might recognize that this film has quality, but they don't know, like they don't not a lot of people talk about their colorist, So I like to give a shout out to him as well.
Yeah, so that last question I asked you is always the hardest one for people, so don't feel bad. That's always the toughest one. Whenever I ask that, people are always like, I don't know, I can't ask everything. So that's just, it goes across the board. Everybody's the same way. Do you have any social media or any websites that you would like to direct readers, listeners, and viewers to?
Yeah, so you can find me on all social medias. My name is Danny Villanueva Jr. Also, I have my production company, How Bizarre Pictures, which is on all social medias. And then we have the pages for I Dream of a Psychopomp. You can follow those as well. And then we have howbizarrepictures.com, where we have a newsletter. So we keep you updated on the most important things that are happening in our film world.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you speaking with me. And I enjoyed the movie. Dream of a Psychopomp. That's what it's called, right? I Dream of a Psychopomp.
Yep.
Okay.
You got it.
I Dream of a Psychopomp is going to be on Terror Films on Friday.
This Friday. Yep.
August 12th. And then the 19th, it will hit digital. And 26th, it will be on the Kings of Horror, right?
That's it. You got it.
Okay, so there you go, everybody. That's where you're going to be able to see the film. Thank you guys for listening. And Danny, be safe and have a great one.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.